CEO and co-founder of Accra, where you'll learn a lot about their platform that kind of consolidates all of your various vendors in one platform. And also you'll hear from, he is unfortunately in the area where you had a horrible accident this morning. Are you there right now in Maryland, Brendan? Oh, he can't.
Just fixed my audio. Yeah, I'm here in Maryland.
Yeah.
It was a tough accident, certainly impact a lot of people. Fortunately, my team is safe, and we're limited to one of our managers' commute being horribly impacted. But aside from that, everything seems to be good. Not too close to any of our facilities, just a major thoroughfare for Baltimore.
We're really thinking of your prayers are with all the people there. He's with Premium Parking.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, gentlemen, you can start.
Sounds great. Thank you all for having us. I'm lucky to be here with Brendan and Kevin, both from Premium Parking. A little bit about myself real quick. CEO and co-founder at Accra. We help operators and asset owners particularly manage all the third-party aggregators like Spot Hero, Parkwiz, Honk, Park Mobile, etc. So Brendan, do you want to give a short snippet about yourself as well?
Sure, my name's Brendan Bodensteiner, Market President, Premium Parking for the Virginia, DC, and Maryland area. We're just a tech-focused operator, so non-traditional parking operator. Kevin? You're muted, sir.
Can you hear me now? Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Fair. I am the market president for Premium Parking for New York City as well as Southern Connecticut. And we basically do exactly what Brendan said, although adding in New York City, we've gotten quite good at high density vertical parking as well.
Perfect. And then thank you all for having us today. Can't see anyone on the other side, but I'm sure everyone has smiling faces because Brendan and Kevin are extraordinary operators and technologists and members of the industry. So I'll do my best to be part of this and help keep up on my end. But the point of today is to talk through kind of the 4 key questions to ask a technology vendor. And we'll kind of go through in more of an informal fashion, walk through some of the questions, talk back and forth. If anyone in the audience wants to jump in, please do so at any point. And we'd love to make this conversational, and then anything else that we can talk about offline, we're all happy to do so. So without further ado, I guess the first question I'll ask Brendan and Kevin is, aside from the basic economics of bringing in more revenue than the technology costs, what are some of the main considerations when choosing to go with a technology vendor?
Thanks, Ethan. Yeah, so one of my biggest considerations is time. Time is as good as money. Time is a currency, and it's a expiring commodity, so I can never get it back. So when I'm looking for a tech vendor, I'm looking for somebody who's going to return time to me, my managers, and my team so that we can focus on other things.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree with you more, Brendan. Time is the one thing that no matter what else we acquire in this, on this earth, you can't get it back. Doesn't matter what you look like, whether you're a prince or a pauper. Just adding on to that a little bit, and really along those lines is, I need to feel comfortable that we do partner. You're going to be there. I'm going to have questions. My team is going to have questions. How ready are you to answer those questions? How many phone calls am I going to have to make? How many emails am I going to have to send? Am I going to have one main point of contact? Am I going to have 13, different points of contact for various things? I think anybody here, who heads up a parking operation, let alone a region, is going to want one point of contact. Obviously, there may be exceptions to that, but so basically, how easy is it going to be for us to be able to work together on a day-to-day basis, both starting up as we integrate our technologies and then moving forward as we grow? We want you to be able to grow and scale with us as well.
Yeah, those are both fantastic. And also it's important for the vendor to be fully honest and transparent about which locations make sense. As we know with parking, there's no one size fits all. And I think, Kevin, you put it really well there that it's important to have one point of contact, but the point of contact at the company should also understand the operation and who they're interfacing with so that the vendor doesn't mislead the operator or the asset owner or the group that they're working with. Because we see that too much in parking where people want everything, but it's not a space where everyone should be everything to everyone. You have to do something really well, and you can be the expert in that space and provide the great technology, and then work with the partner to make sure that everyone gets the most ROI, whether that be from a cost basis with revenue, or if that's from time savings, as Brendan said. Anything else on that piece that you guys would like to add, or audience, anything else that you want to bring into it as well?
I'm not sure how or if the audience is able to engage us.
Sounds good. Yeah, then we'll pause for maybe 30 seconds uncomfortably every time, and then we'll see if anyone jumps in.
Okay,
Uh,
you guys can hear me now, right?
Yep.
yes.
All right. So if anybody in the audience has a input, comment, or questions, I will make sure that they are heard.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, then I'll say I'll respond. That was a great answer, Ethan. I really like that you hit on not all spaces are created equal and not all parkers want the same thing. So it's important not to cram everybody in the same box just because we think that serves our own needs as the operator, as the tech vendor, or anybody else. So I'll ask the next question. I'll kick this one off to Kevin. How do you gain confidence that a technology vendor is going to solve a real need?
All right, so I'm sure everybody here, or most of us here, have heard the term, yeah, if you can't tell me what you do in one sentence or maybe 30 seconds or less, how am I supposed to figure that out? I know I'm paraphrasing, but just to bring it back into a panel setting here. Look, everybody wants to be heard and feel heard, and to me, one of the biggest red flags is somebody's coming up to me and if they're approaching me with any kind of technology service, and they just want to beat me over the head with everything that they can do. And this is what we can do this, and we did this here. I want you to ask me questions. I want you to take the time to figure out what my issues are and why you're here in the first place. I do want to feel heard just like everybody else. If I'm talking to you at all, I already feel like there could be some kind of value. All right. So take some time, ask me some questions. Obviously, I'm fine with them being pointed questions towards, what it is that you do, and how you think we can partner. But, really, it all starts with a conversation. Give me the time to be able to explain what it is that I'm looking for, and then, take your time, not too much time, obviously, because, leading back to Brendan's answer in the last question, but, be thoughtful in a response, be as comprehensive as you can. And, if we're talking in the first place, we probably do want to work together in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, again, listen to me, hear what I have to say, and then we'll go from there. I guess I will let Brendan give his thoughts on that, or expand on my thoughts, or any of the above.
I thought that was a great answer. Just I guess simplify my view. I'm looking to take a lot of pieces that I already manage and make it easier for me. I don't want to be sold on something new I'm not doing, and it's just a bell or a whistle that I don't really need, because then you're creating work. I am looking to take what I am managing, what I am already doing, what I have already found value in, and to make it easier for me. In Akra's case, we basically have a single portal to do what I was doing with 4+ people. So he didn't invent anything new for my team to manage. However, he reduced me from having to do everything I did in that space 4 times. That's a no-brainer. I just returned 75% of my time related to managerial online pre-sales. So, when it's that easy, taking the blocks, putting them together, not inventing some new work process for me at the same time because it's flashy or it has a buzzword. You know, a lot of times we get caught in a trap of somebody else is doing something with this fun new word that everybody's talking about, and we're spending money just to add more on our plate. And that's not what I'm looking for in a vendor. Ethan, I'm sure you have great insight on this one.
I appreciate it. Great answers on both ends. Brendan, thank you for the shout out on the Acra side too. Ultimately, yeah, it's a two-way street. What we find is like the best operators that we work with are the ones who are pushing on what that need is. And as Brendan said, it could be something that it's saving their team from logging the 4 portals and helping them return that time back so that they can spend that time elsewhere. And also knowing where we stack up in the rankings of their priorities so that we are taking away work that they need to do that's busy work and adding time back to their plate, while also seeing where we can drive more value over time working together. And that's why we've really appreciated that partnership, is because Brendan's team and Brendan leading that team has been extraordinary of, hey, here's what we need. Here's what we can talk through. Akra, which pieces can you help with? Which ones can't you? And then we try and be as honest as possible of where we can jump in, where we can't. And Kevin, I think you said it really well too. It's important for vendors to listen and to hear and ask questions. A lot of times the vendors can maybe not do it themselves short term, but they can refer over another partner. And that's also a value add of having that whole relationship. And so trying to create those win-win-win partnerships. And sometimes it could be a crawl, walk, run. Sometimes it's, hey, let's, both put skin in the game together. There's so many ways to do it. And ultimately, if you solve a need and you save people time and money, then everyone wins. So I really appreciate both your answers there. Anything else that anyone wants to add before we move to the next one?
Yeah, real quick. I think it was Brendan's second point, and you tied it in, Ethan. So I figured I'd just finish it off. We're talking to you because we have a need, and we don't need you to invent another need for us to worry about if we weren't already thinking about it. I just want to make it, as plain as possible. Yeah. Have you considered this problem that you never thought you had? Well, no. And let's move on. And I'll leave it at that.
Well said. Okay, perfect. So it doesn't sound like we have too many questions yet from the other side. So next question is, how do you ensure a technology vendor shares your long-term vision? Brendan, I applaud every conversation that we've had because you were one of the first and the most forthright people in asking us early on, where is Akra going to long-term? Like, what is the plans for the business? How do I know that you're going to be a partner of mine that's not just going to be out of the market in a year? And which something I truly respect. And I think that more operators can use that and take advantage of it to talk with their vendors and partners. And so I'd love to understand, in the space where venture capital keeps coming into the parking industry and people are raising money and bringing these new concepts and technologies, how do you align with that long-term vision, and what are you looking for these technology vendors?
Yeah, thanks, Ethan. We've seen a couple huge shifts in the parking industry in the recent years. We had our reimagined, where we dumped money and we realized, hey, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're guaranteed success. It has to be wisely invested. You have to have a clear map. You have to have a focus. We've seen, the acquisition of SP Plus with Metropolis. Well, what a huge industry change. So they have that challenge now to build their roadmap together. I think that trickles down to every level of our industry, and there are a lot of vendors who just are trying to follow the same model of let's see how much cash we can get from private equity, from investors, and then once it's enough, once I hit this threshold that I've built, I'm just going to sell it. And then me as the operator is left thinking, okay, well, when this company is acquired, how are they going to serve my needs as good as or better than the relationship I've already developed? I feel like I'm starting from scratch. So, I did ask Ethan and Chris some of the tough questions, and it's, what percentage of decision making is outside of your team? Do the economics work? If you're paying an average salary to a person who can manage X amount of locations and you're charging this per location to operator, do the economics make sense? Is it a sustainable model? Are you building for growth or are you building for quick wealth? In Akra's case, we've had a lot of conversations that help put those concerns to rest. And it kind of touched on Ethan's previous answer, and it's engaging communication. What can I do for you? What can you do for me? What can we do together to make things easier? And we've talked about coaching programs in Ethan's space. They're the aggregators. If I have a brand new manager, who better can train my manager on the fundamentals of online pre-sales than the guys doing it every day? They know it better than I do. I'm pretty good at it, but I would be a fool to say I could do it better than Ethan, Chris, or anybody else on his team. Also, a big shout out to his guys, Nate. Nate been huge for us. But really, it's does the model work? Are they planning to be in business for a long time? Because that's who I want to invest my relationship in. And I do. I'm very candid with my vendors. I'm going to ask them the hard questions because that's going to build the relationship, and it's going to give me that confidence that they're worth my time to say, hey, this is what you could be doing better. Hey, this is what you're really messing up on. Hey, this financial model gives me a little bit of concern. You guys might want to think about it a little bit.
Yeah, man. That was very well said. I don't have a whole lot to add to that, Brendan. Just to piggyback on that just a little bit. Something we at Premium internally preach quite a bit with our communications, and it really does help push us forward, and it is uncomfortable. And I do think that in a professional way, we do tend to push it out towards our partners. There's no simpler way to put it. One word, it's candor. You're going to ask hard questions, or you're going to hear hard questions from us. Obviously it's not meant to tear you down. It's meant to poke and prod and figure out where you're going as a company. And, I really do like the order of these questions because they kind of build on each other. But like Ethan said, it's a two-way street. We need to, it needs to be a partnership. Otherwise it's really just not going to be efficient. We're not going to be able to create those economies. And then what's the point? But, yeah, in those conversations, we're going to learn what your long-term vision is. It's going to permeate in the way you speak, whether you're conscious of it or not. To Brendan's point, are you here for the quick venture capital money, or are you really in it for the long term? Do you really believe in what you're doing? And that's going to come through. Hopefully you want it to. Hopefully that's where your headspace is at. Whether it is or not, though, if we're doing our job and we're paying attention, we're just gonna know. Unless your whole goal is to dupe us, but we're not. That's a whole different conversation. But yeah, that's my 3.5 cents added on to what Brendan already did a great job explaining.
Yeah, you guys both hit it on the head. Ultimately, it exemplifies true partnership. The way that you guys see the business, you're doing what's right for the clients and the asset owners and everyone in the space that we all are supposed to be helping to, increase value for and run the best parking possible. And so it's incredible for you guys to ask those questions, and tech vendors should be comfortable answering them. If they're not comfortable answering them, that could be a red flag as well. Ultimately, it depends, of course, who in the organization you ask. It'd be easier to ask the CEO of the company what the plans are for growth and exits and investors and all that than maybe someone else that's on the sports side who might not be comfortable or equipped to answer. But that's why I think that you guys at Premium have done an exceptional job of is finding the right people in the company to align with, utilizing the whole organization. Brendan, you mentioned a couple people on our team, which I appreciate as well. And they're the ones that make all the magic happen. I just get to smile and click some buttons and talk once in a while. And yeah, it's important to know the decision makers too, and ultimately how the company sees itself in 5 years and how to align on the roadmap together. If the company plans on being around for a long time and growing with you, there's opportunities like Brendan, you've brought so many great ideas to our team where we've implemented some of them and we've talked with you on other ones of, hey, where's this rank up? How do we get X, Y, and Z? And what does your long-term future look like for the demand channel aggregator pre-sale space? And you've really helped us grow and improve, which just helps our partnership that much more. So it's really great to be asked those questions, and the tech vendors should be more than comfortable answering those with full honesty, because the trust is a two-way street as well. And so great answers, guys. Any questions or thoughts from the audience before we move to the last question?
Stand by, guys. Again, you're listening to Streamlining and Demystifying, 4 critical questions to ask vendors during the vetting process. Guys, you're going to have to trust me. This audience is engaged and they're looking at you and you guys are looking good. So I'm going to walk around the room. Raise your hand if you do have a question. Let's get a question. Ask them about lunch. Come on, let's do something good here. George Voles of Stony Brook University. Stand by.
Yeah, so this question, and anyone on the panel can help with this, and obviously you have experience with knowing that a municipality or a higher ed institution won't make technology advancements or improvements for periods of 10, 15 years or more. It takes a while, and there's a lot of folks involved, and when inevitably the decision is made, it's been a long time since the previous technology that's there. So what are some things that can ensure the vendor that you're looking at has the future to remain relevant and up to date, as well as scalable? What are some of the things that you look at? Is it more where that company has been, their past history and their evolution? Or with a newer vendor on the scene, how do you ensure that they're going to be the ones to serve your purpose for the next 10, 15, 20 years?
I'll just kick it off and then I'll kick it to the other two. I think, first of all, thank you for the question. It's great to have that engagement, and to be able to answer it. I think, like you alluded to, it's going to depend. If they do have the history, I absolutely am looking at the history, and then I'm listening to them, and I'm trying to figure out, is what they're telling me about the future in alignment with the history? And if it's not, are they telling me that it's not and why it's not? Because, we talk a lot about the evolution of parking. And yes, absolutely. In the university space, it's 10 years. In the hospital space, it's not less than 5 years. And so, yeah, it's, again, to me, it's ask those questions and listen and watch the body language, and go from there. Yes, the answer to your question is yes to all of the above, really, with those caveats. And I think a very fair question is, where do you see the future of parking, and where do you see the future of mobility, and those types of questions that seem kind of pie in the sky, but it's a funnel. That question now, 10 years from now, will be granular. Whereas right now it might seem like it's as big as an entire city. That's my 2 cents on it. I will kick it off to either Brendan or Ethan from here.
Yeah, I can take it real quick, and then Brendan, you can hit us home with that. But there's also a few different ways that you can make sure that you have the vendor aligned for years. There's source code escrow that you can talk through. If you're genuinely concerned that they're not going to be around for 10, 15 years, that's completely understandable. And the conversation to have with the vendor. What else can you do? Can you sign a long-term contract that protects you through acquisition or any other means of the business? And so, George, great question. Thank you for asking that. And there's a lot of different ways that you can ensure alignment. And the vendors also have to come prepared to help with that, because that's important to you. And so if they want to work with you, then it should be important to them too.
Excellent question. I'm going to answer it a little bit different, because I think an accurate answer today won't be the same accurate answer a year from today. Everything's changing in the parking industry. The reason things were so slow to move is because we were reliant on hundreds and thousands of dollars of equipment, hundreds of thousands of dollars of payroll, with tens of thousands of dollars of training. Now we're slowly evolving. Everybody is evolving towards the digital solution, which ultimately gives all parties more flexibility to change more rapidly over a wider range. So I think over time, you're going to start seeing the municipalities, the higher education, the hospitals and some of these industries that move with caution. It's only going to take them a year or two to do their research and due diligence, and they are not going to have to continue to trail so far behind because of budget restraints, because of fear of, proof of concept. The private industry is going to prove the concepts for them. As far as longevity in a partner, I think the standard partnership's duration is probably going to shrink. The average partnership is going to shrink over time because things are going to move so fast that unfortunately some of the best teams are not going to be able to innovate win after win after win after win. However, you're going to have some dynamite titans rise from the mix who are forward thinkers and will, for decades stay on top like some of the titans we have had in the past. So I really think the dynamic is going to change. The way we evaluate our relationships are going to change, and the understanding of what a long-term partnership is going to change. Expectations turned upside down.
Well, I think we're so good on time. Here you go, sir.
So what are your thoughts on dynamic pricing? Do you think it's more of a race to the bottom, or does it benefit the vendor more than the operator?
Fantastic question. Are you asking from the municipality side, university side, operator standpoint?
Hey, guys, that's from the, did you say operator side? From the operator.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. So dynamic pricing, and this is my personal opinion on this, it completely varies by the microcosm of where it's working at. Is it in a CBD? Is it in an event space, off airports? Kind of what vertical is it servicing in the parking sector? Also, just locally, what's going on there? Is it through the aggregator channels like Spot Hero and Parkways? Is it being done dynamically on site through the equipment? What is the actual dynamic pricing entailing? Because it could be a race to zero if the methodology is just looking at other people's rates and trying to price lower. However, if you're just kind of doing that kind of rate survey and then always saying I'll be $1 lower, there's also other opportunities to take that the other way and say, wait a second, if we're using these third-party marketplaces like Spot Hero, okay, when is the other customer filling up? When is the other location filling up their spaces? And can we use that so that they fill up first for the lower price? We hold out and then we price for higher. And it's going to be more premium location, the more premium product that we're selling. And then we're actually using that on the flip side to use the captive customers to generate more value. And how can you yield manage based off that too? Is maybe the first 10% of occupancy one price, and the next 30% another price? There's different kind of tactics that you can do there to see how you can improve kind of that delta between your ceiling and your floor. And that's ultimately where dynamic pricing can come best into play, is knowing where to appropriately price that customer at the time. If it's for, a Taylor Swift concert and you have you're near a venue, you can charge whatever you want. We've seen people charging astronomical rates, and the consumers still pay it. And that's a great way to capture margin from the operations standpoint and servicing the asset owner. If that's the goal, is to generate as much revenue as possible, you can increase yield 10, 20x% by just making sure you're paying attention to those small changes in demand. So it's a really great question. It's very complicated. but there's definitely an opportunity. The biggest thing holding back the industry from true dynamic pricing, though, has just been all the fragmentation. Candidly, you can't dynamically price if all the channels out there and the different sales methodologies don't talk to one another. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to help bridge together at Acra. And there's a number of other companies working with us to help kind of unify all the pricing out there. Kevin and Brendan, do you guys have anything more to add to that?
I
mean,
think dynamic pricing has become one of those buzzwords that everybody uses. I think it means a whole lot more than people imply it to mean. Kind of like a couple years ago, everybody's talking about, oh, we've got the SaaS deal, or very early on in integrations, like, oh, we're on an API, and people would say these things without realizing the full range of what it could mean. With dynamic pricing, you could have different rates based on your weekday trends, where maybe Saturday costs the most. Dynamic pricing could be built on occupancy. When you hit certain levels on some sort of counter system or manual count, pricing is inflated by this percentage. We also know all spaces are not created equal. It could mean, hey, these 10 spaces by the elevator are going to cost more than anything else. It could be event related. Dynamic pricing has no limit, and I truly believe we've only tapped the surface. I think operators and vendors are going to get really creative with this, and we're going to see rate differentiation at new levels with new triggers, new automations. So I certainly don't think it's a race to the bottom. Combination of things you need to know. One, you need to know the value of your asset. I have assets where I am not directly competing with the garage directly across the street of me, because I am the one next to the prime demand generator. I am the one on the waterfront, or I am the one built underneath the hotel that everybody's putting in their GPS. I don't care what address you email them to go to ahead of time, they're coming. So I'm not in a race to a bottom in an asset like that. I've got other assets that are so far from demand generators that I do have to get creative. I'm looking at bundles, I'm looking at discounted pricing. But ultimately, I think where all operators are going to head is different pricing by channel, because we all know there's certain competitive channels where we cannot just charge whatever we want. However, you don't want to cannibalize, the park crew was happily going to pay no matter what, just for the convenience of pulling into your garage. So I think we're going to see drive-in rates remaining high. Certainly there are dynamic strategies that we can apply to those drive-in ratios, but I think you're going to see a completely different set of rate wars and dynamic applications to your online sales, where we know somebody's going to walk an extra 2 blocks to save those $3 a day. I think it also depends on differentiating your customers. They are not all the same. It's not as easy as putting them in 2 bags of price sensitive and convenience motivated. I think it's, how frequently they're coming. $1 is a huge value to somebody who's coming 5 days a week. $1 is nothing to somebody who's coming to visit the aquarium once a year. So just the gravity of what the word dynamic means, we have a long way to go as operators, as tech solution focused vendors, to be discovered.
Great stuff, guys. Great.
Brendan, you're taking all my talking points. You're killing me over here.
Kevin, I give you 30 seconds. We got to end this one. Thank you.
Yeah, if that, it's really, I appreciate that. To basically sum up what Brendan said, know your asset, know who you serve, know their price elasticity. Is it a race to zero? No, I've never even heard. Could it be? I guess that's news to me. To me, dynamic pricing is being able to increase your price as you're able to increase demand, because you know what you have, and because through robust data collection what people are willing to pay and when they're willing to pay it and why they're willing to pay it.
Excellent, gentlemen. Let's give a hand to Brendan, Ethan, and Kevin. Really good stuff. We got a special treat coming up. We've got a live presenter coming up now. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Take care.